Welcome back to another TradeOut's technical analysis tutorial. This is the Introduction to Range Trading Volume 4, where we're going to go over the different fixed range tool pools that I use in my analysis, how I'm able to come up with support, resistance, how I use the fixed range tool for confluence, etc., etc. That being said, let's get to the video. And just a reminder on the settings that I use, because they very well could give you a different outcome. Not necessarily that they're wrong or right, again, but like if you want to mirror the settings that I typically use, there you go. So the default settings, again, the row size is 24, value area volume is 70. I don't change that for my settings, although some people use 68. Just so you're aware, that's maybe a number that you could play around with. For me, I'm cool with 70. Seems to work how I want it to work. And then again, my settings, the row size, the only thing that changes is at 144. So we're going to start off this video with a chart that should be very familiar to you VIPs who were on yesterday's stream, because this is the one that we actually went over live. And this is a very good example of using the fixed range tool and identifying, identifying different points where you might want to pull your fixed range of to identify. Basically, again, the most important level that I'm really looking for is the point of control. That's typically like when I'm doing these alternate pulls, I guess you could call them, then again, like the point of control is really the level that I'm most concerned with, but I am definitely paying attention to value area low and value area high, of course. But this is a really good example. This is one that we went over yesterday, and it hit perfectly. So the fixed range tool, I'll actually delete this just so you can see exactly where I'm pulling from. And I'll kind of briefly go over like why I'm pulling from there. Okay. So obviously you guys should be aware of the macro value areas, like how I get those. So again, fixed range tool, it's literally all of the price action on your chart, right? Every single, like all the way from the beginning to the end here. And you can see your macro value area is way down here at 16 bucks. Your point of control is literally, it's not even worth marking, to be honest with you. I mean, if we had some massive crash and we're like breaking value area high, then I would probably want to re-pull this just to see like where the point of control is. But again, there was so much time spent at, like pennies pretty much, that like that's where your point of control is going to be. It's not really that surprise. You'll see that on quite a few alts, which is even, I mean, not to get sidetracked, but if you just like took it from anywhere near down here, I mean, look at this. This is what altcoins can do for you. 35,000% return. Like that's why we trade these things. But anyway, so the pool that I use to get this level, okay, so just to get back on topic here, is I'm looking, so like when I'm zooming out, I'm looking for important pivots, right? Places where price, like the behavior of price changed, okay? And for me, this pivot here is an important pivot, and this is the start. Like this is my starting point when I did my fixed range tool all the way to all-time high. And again, the reason why is, as you're coming up now, again, we'll talk about different pulls that you can actually use on this chart. But if you notice here, like price was moving up pretty nicely. And then all of a sudden, like kind of came in, made this low, and then you had this very big impulsive move, right? So this price action here is much different than all of this price action here, okay? So again, this is kind of like a grind higher, which is great. But then here you made your low, impulsive move up, correction, impulsive move top, okay? So again, like when I'm looking like, and this is, again, I did this yesterday, okay? So like all of this price action that you see here is basically already populated, right? well, technically, I guess this is 2 candles ago for the stream, even though I did it late afternoon. So for me, it's yesterday, but it's technically, you know, since we're in a new trading day already, it's technically 2 candles ago. But again, like all of this price action was here. So the beginning of the impulsive move that led to all-time highs, and now what's happening, right? Price is correcting. So why would I be interested in finding where the point of control is for this move? Well, it's quite simple. I want to see where support is. Mostly the point of control. Again, I want to see where the point of control is. That's where most of the business was done. Because that signifies to me, like typically when you see that, especially with if it happens to line up with other, you know, if you have other confluences at that level, then, you know, like that's always going to be a really relevant point of interest for myself. So get your fixed range tool, start here at the bottom and go to all-time high, right? So it's this candle. You can do everything, right? You can include all of this price if you want, but for me, the real point of interest is this impulsive move that led to this current high, which again, we're clearly, like this is clearly a high. You have bearish market structure in place, right? You have your high, low, lower, high, you know, like we're already making lower lows. So I want to see as price is coming down, where do I think it could bounce from, right? So again, your low all the way up until your all-time high candle. There's your point of control. So again, no surprise. We already talked about this on the stream a couple days ago. Excuse me. But if you zoom in, guess where we bounced from? Point of control. What other confluences did you have here that, which if you go back to the stream, like why did I get excited when I happened to stumble across this? It's mainly it's 3 reasons. Again, the point of control of your uptrend, again, from the start of your impulsive move up to all-time highs. So as price is backing off, I want to see where are my levels of interest, which check this out. So here's your value area high. So I'll just mark these out. There's going to be a bunch of levels on here. It is what it is. So here is your uptrend value area high. What happened as price backed off of its all-time high, which this is where we're pulling from? Where did you find support? Value area high. And perfect, right? Like right off value area high. Lost value area high. So where's the next level of interest? Point of control, which is right here. So this is your uptrend point of control. Which, to finish this thought out, you had a lot of confluence here. You had your pivot, which is your yearly pivot. Okay? Untapped, yearly pivot, 786 of this fib pull, and the point of control. Unreal, right? Nice bounce, which by the way, it's going to be basically what I posted. But I'm not even going to take, it doesn't really matter if I take it from the low or not. Take it from your 786 up here, 10% bounce, right? You got a 10, a little over 10% bounce there. So you find out like a pretty good low. And then lastly, your uptrend value area low, which is right here. And that's coming down like way at $51, okay? Which, funny enough, back when price was around here, it seems like an interesting support area. Also comes in pretty close to these highs. So yeah, like I think, and you have an untapped daily here sitting here, so it wouldn't be too surprising to see a reaction here if it does indeed like get tested way down here. Now, so again, I hope that makes sense why I chose this pull and what I was looking for. So again, impulsive move. This is the start of your impulse to new all-time highs. As price is coming down, I want to look for areas of potential support that mesh up with other, have other confluences. And for me, the point of control is a really big deal. So obviously your value area high worked out very nicely. Came right into it, nice bounce. Ultimately lost it, came right down to your point of control. And so far, really great bounce off of that. So that's one example of using the fixed range tool. And again, like the thing that I love about using the fixed range tool in my analysis is it allows for precision, right? It's like you're literally picking exact points and getting information from those 2 points that like allows you to, again, like help make it a decision, right? So that's one pull, which flawless pull. As far as I'm concerned, that is like as good as it gets. So I thought that was a great example to actually start the video off with that. Now, here's another pull that I haven't talked about yet. I don't think so. I don't remember doing it at least. So another pull that's current, like that right now is a pull of interest for me, is using the other end of this pivot. So, or like the other end of this, right? Which is your current all-time high. So we looked at your uptrend value area levels. Now I want to look for my downtrend value area levels, because guess what? We came into a major support level, 10% plus bounce off of this level. If we keep pushing higher, I want to know where my level. So again, assuming that this is a good low, which at the moment it looks like a great low. The thing that I like about this, again, if you lose this, pretty easy to see where you're going to come in. And like if you can go back and look at the analysis, I want to do it here. But I already identified those levels. And then again, the level below that would be this value area low. But now I want to use my fixed range tool, and I want to start from here and come to this low. All right. So here's my starting point at all-time high, and I'm going to come down to this low. Now, I'm just moving my cursor so that you can see where I'm going. You don't need to do that. You can actually just drag it over up top here. You don't have to do that. But I just like to kind of like show you where I'm going with it, right? So again, all-time high, value area low, there's your point of control. So number one, first thing I'm looking for is where is this coming in? And guess what? It's coming in at your monthly open. And this actually an all day level as well, funny enough. So like I think that might have been on my chart. But this is your monthly open. So you have confluence there already. Now from here, from this previous, then I don't like, this is kind of getting outside the scope of the video, but I'm going to do it right now just because I'm curious. You don't really have any good fib confluence. It's kind of in between your golden pocket and your 786 from this pull. If you pull from your all-time high, kind of the same thing. It kind of falls on the other side. So like that, it's not that you, I mean, you don't have like, you really don't have fib confluence with that. That was just a real quick pull that I wanted to do. But as long as these 2 points hold, that's kind of like what you would be going off of, right? From a confluence standpoint, or like knowing where your, your Fibonacci levels are coming in. Nonetheless, point of control on your monthly open, that's pretty good. And then obviously you're going to be looking for your value area low, which I don't want to mark all this, but you can see it right here. That's your value area low. What do I like about the value area low? It's literally like this. It's basically you have these big support wicks here, right? Price came down, bought up, price came down, bought up before ultimately failing. So like if we come back and test the underside of this, sometimes you can get like pretty good resistance off of that. Your value area low is sitting kind of right around there. So that's interesting. Point of control again, monthly open, and then your value area high. What I like about this is, if you remember from here, or from the analysis, I was talking about how important this red box actually is, right? Because like this, I'm gonna go through the whole thing, but this ends up being a really nice SR flip as far as like this zone goes, right? Really nice, clean, breaks above, back test, new all-time high, lost it, resistance. It might be hard to see, but it's perfect. Resistance, rejection, resistance, big rejection. So if price does come up, manage to take out your point of control, moves higher, well, you have this zone to contend with yet again. It's not going to change. It's still resistance in my opinion. But what confluence do you have sitting at literally the perfect underside of this resistance zone? You have a value area high, uptrend value area high. That's sitting right there. Okay. So again, this is assuming like this could, like these levels can change. This isn't like that old of a pull. So if we spent a lot of time consolidating or something, like the levels are they're very likely to change. It's possible. But currently as it stands, that's how I would use the fixed range tool in this scenario to identify like potential, again, like if this starts to roll back up and push to the upside, those are the levels that I would be looking for, especially the point of control. Delete this. So, take a sip of water here. Oh man, it's like my voice hasn't like fully recovered still. It's crazy. It's been like this for like a month now. Zooming out, so like getting crazy and zooming out. I'm gonna show you another pull, which again, there's like a ton of levels on here. I guess I can get rid of these. Actually, I kind of want to keep that one for right now. Whatever, I'll do with it later. So another pull that you can do is, again, looking at change of behavior, okay? So if I kind of zoom back here, this is an even larger uptrend. So this is like the start of a real uptrend, right? I picked this spot because I explained like the change, right? You see like the change in basically big acceleration to the upside. So that's what interested me, the most as far as this price action goes. But if you want to zoom out a bit, I can, like, this is another very valid pull. It's the same theory behind this pull, this uptrend pull that I did, right? To find kind of a more localized point of control. And your value area high, value area low. You can actually pull that, like, I'll go way back here. And what do you have? Like, you have a nice impulsive move, pretty nice range, collapse down here, formed another, consolidation, reaccumulation before this massive giant move to the upside. Well, look at where, and this will give you another hint, okay? I started my anchored VWAP pull from this very exact point. Why would I do that? It's the same theory behind what I'm about to show you, because this is where we had a nice change of behavior. This is an important pivot in the market. This is where things went from having, consolidation, reaccumulation to like the impulsive move up out of this range and this range, right? Like this is when price really started running away. So the beginning of this is naturally going to be an area of interest. Okay. So fixed range tool selected. Start here, which by the way, look at your anchored VWAP pull from this pull. Your first test into it was like a flawless buy. All right. Beautiful buying opportunity. And we haven't come back to test it yet. So again, if price does continue to fall, I'm definitely interested to see like where this anchored VWAP comes into play, which right now is sitting at this daily, funny enough. So like if this started to keep working its way down, could be another interesting opportunity. But I'm going to use the same pull here and go all the way to your all-time high. So you can do one of two things. To be honest with you, like you could do your all-time high. We'll see if there's a difference because this is clearly your high, but a lot of times I'll just include all of the data. Because again, like if I'm analyzing for, if I think that the point of control is going to be somewhere down here, which it probably is going to be, like including this data is probably the smart thing to do. But the first pull I'll do just to take a look at is just going to be to your all-time high. So it's literally this, the very start of the impulse all the way to all-time high. But I also wouldn't be too shocked if I include this data and it probably doesn't change a whole lot. So what do you see? Well, first of all, here is this is funny. That's exactly where my alert is, which it's I don't know why it's still there, because it already hit obviously. But your value area high is like you did find decent support there coming into it at the moment, right? Yeah, you got a bit of a wick down into our level, but as far as like a closure, you did find support there so far, so that's nice to see. Your point of control is coming in right back into this level, which I like that. I like that quite a bit because this support zone that I had here obviously worked out very nicely. And the point of control, again, it's just sitting right underneath that. So I kind of like that. So if this kept dumping, again, like that would be an area of interest for myself. Also, anchored VWAP is pretty close by. That's good to see. So anyway, like you can see where these levels are, right? So that's definitely one valid pull, and you're pulling from the start of the impulse to your all-time high. Same theory, looking for like if price continues to work its way down, where on this uptrend like was what most of the business done essentially, like where would you be looking for potential support to come in? Now, so again, what I'm going to do, which we can see if this changes at all. I'm going to include all of the current price all the way up until today. My guess, it probably doesn't change it too much. Yeah, it really didn't change it too much. So again, this is literally from the start of this impulse all the way until right now. And, you know, the point of control, it didn't move. Still right under that same level. And, you know, I think your value areas might have shifted a tiny bit. Again, you know, if I was doing an analysis to find a level right now, I would include this price action, to be fair. You know, I probably would, but it's also valid to just pull to your all-time high. So I want to be clear about that. Like, you can do, like, this is a very clean, definitive pull, right? Point A to point B, two very clear pivots. You have, you know, technical reasons why you want to just be looking at this data to, again, if price comes back down, you want to see, you know, like where's your point of control. But at the same time, like, you also are including current data on this pull, which again, it doesn't shift it that much. And you can see, like, it was going to take a ton of trading activity at these levels to even shift your point of control, right? It doesn't look like it's going to shift anytime soon. So it's not really that big of a deal. So that's kind of like one way that you can figure out which pull is maybe more for you, or what might make more technical sense. It's a little bit hard for me to explain in a video, to be honest, because a lot of it's just experience. I can look at two pulls and it's like, I know which one I'm going with. So it's a little hard for me to explain sometimes. But again, in this pull, it's pretty straightforward. Either one is technically fine. Your value areas might shift a tiny bit. Not really that big of a deal. Because again, the main area that I'm looking for is this. I'm really looking for this, okay, to see where your point of control comes into. And again, it doesn't matter. And it probably, even if this continues to work its way down, again, you keep repulling it, it's probably not going to shift anytime soon. Now, you can also use this data to kind of find your higher volume nodes, okay? So, like, yeah, your point of control is obviously the level that you want to know. But what's interesting, well, we have this key level here at 4680, all right? Funny enough is if you draw the key level out, it's basically where things start to get heavy, all right? So there's a lot of volume here as you come into this general region, this key level. You can see that it's there's not really a whole lot, and all of a sudden you just have this shelf, right? So what does that tell you? Well, in my opinion, you know, price moving the way that it has through here very quickly, like it doesn't, you can see it doesn't offer a lot of support on the way down, right? It's as fast as it goes up, it can come down just as fast. When you have this kind of building block grind up higher, this is building a lot more support than it does on an impulsive move like this. So as you come back into kind of this grinding higher, right, you see all this volume that got put in here. Like, it's very unlikely, unless we have some massive, you know, maybe have some kind of like black swan event or massive crash, who knows. But it's very unlikely just to knife all the way through this stuff, right? You might get a quick move down into around this key level. And again, you might ultimately work your way lower, but I highly doubt you just knife right through all of this. It'd be very unlikely. So again, point of control is obviously the most important, but going into, you know, like, it's using your volume profile as well visually to identify where those larger support regions are, right? So it's not just your value area high, your point of control, your value area low. It's analyzing the data even just visually and seeing, like, where does the larger support regions lie. So hopefully that helps. So we'll do another chart in a sec. So let's do sand. Oh, let me get rid of this pivot. What happened to my levels? Let me take a sip of water and figure this out. Well, I guess my levels got deleted, which is okay. Just do this real fast. Same thing here. So marking out my macro value areas. I'm not going to mark out the point of control because it's way the hell down here. It's irrelevant, okay? But even your macro value area is obviously irrelevant from where price currently is. But again, if this like crashes or keeps coming down, then yeah, it's going to be relevant. So that I will mark. So again, you're getting a little bit of a refresher on doing this. So this is going to be a yearly level. This will be a yearly level if it closes the year anywhere below here, which is a big deal. But for now, this is yearly open. I really like, I think I don't talk about this too much. I think having the yearly open on your chart's really important. It's really important from a macro perspective to know like where you started the year. The Bitcoin is, you know, this year it's important, but the previous year when we had, you know, it wasn't that important considering like we were way far away from it. But like typically having the yearly open is important to have on your chart. So 3 month, well, quarter, of course that makes sense. Oh, geez, I guess I will mark this. Just way down here though. This is also quarterly level, which I'm not. I guess I will. Just so like the thing that I like about this is that this quarterly level, like yeah, got worked through and obviously broke above, but it's literally your macro value high. So like I want to remember, like if price does come down here, I want to remember that this was the old quarterly level. Still relevant. Monthly, you have a new monthly. So this is an actual monthly level. And you have one down here. I don't really care about that one. Well, I guess I do. Since it's untapped. I mean, it's way down there. Weekly. So I know this doesn't have anything to do with the video, but figured it would be a decent refresher. Wow. So there is no weekly levels. There's no, like this is a little scary. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, this chart still looks okay. I think if we close the week like this, that's like, oh boy. If we close the week anything like this, like I really don't want to see a weekly closure below $5, to be honest with you. If we close a week like this, now here's the deal. It's very likely going to do whatever Bitcoin does. If Bitcoin is able to find support here, which it's so far it's done okay. It's like we're finding a little bit of support here. Bitcoin loses this support, this thing's probably gonna flush again. If we close below this $5 region, that would look pretty bad. Yeah, we'll revisit that one. But anyway, there's like no support that's built up. Daily is probably different. By the way, I'm not marking. Yes, this is a weekly level, but I'm not marking it because it's a monthly. Monthly supersedes the weekly, and it's close enough to me. Like I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to bother marking that. You probably have a bunch of dailies, is my guess. See this weekly here? It's like a multiple daily too. Like this is a really big level at 750. If this thing ever revisits 750 again, that's a pretty big level. Nice to see that respect there. Yeah, you probably got a pretty fair amount of dailies. So I'm just gonna stop talking and get this done because I want to get back to the video. Bunch of untapped dailies down here. Which obviously you're gonna look for support on the way down. This one's almost tapped. Almost tapped. And we'll do one final one. There's a lot of dailies, which is good. Okay, so back to the topic of the video. One pool already that I see. One pool that I see. Well, I guess I'll just start from left to right. Okay, so we already did our macro pool. Same story. Okay. Like where does the game change essentially? You have a big sideways. Now granted, this is probably a pretty huge range in respect, but like things get super impulsive right here, right? So I'm gonna start here, basically at the base, and I'm gonna work my way up. So I'm kind of curious to see how deep this one was. Is that pretty deep? Yeah, it was kind of down here by this daily, so that one didn't get hit. And again, I'm kind of starting from this impulse to this previous all-time high. Did we hit any major levels? Make sure I have the right data here. Yeah, found a little bit of support. So again, you can kind of see like we made a new all-time high, price comes down here, finds a little bit of support at your value area high, loses that, doesn't come all the way down at your point of control before it makes another leg up. So that's interesting. And then really to this all-time high, see what it looks like. Wow. So this from the beginning of your impulsive move all the way up to your all-time high, your point of control for that is all the way down here at this day level. So that already for me is pretty good confluence. You know, so again, this is like this impulsive move. So if price continues to kind of grind and work its way down, this is an area of interest for myself that I would want to pay attention to. Next thing I'm going to do, which is not relevant to this video really, but just to kind of show you again, I got to pull a fib and see if anything lines up. Nothing really lines up with this point of control. Golden pocket lines up around where like the value area high is. Isn't like that big of a deal. 786 is kind of around this daily level. 886 is right at this daily level. It's pretty funny actually. So like, I mean, the fib actually works out pretty nice, but not necessarily where your point of control is. And then I'll just pull everything just to see like where this is at. Okay, well there you go. Did that change? Let me go back. So that didn't change. Just make sure. Yeah, wow. Point of control didn't change. Wow. It's interesting. That's very interesting. I honestly expected it to change a little bit. I was kind of surprised that it would have like shift up a bit. Wow. Let me take a sec. I would definitely be paying attention to this level, to basically 280, which is like the midpoint of this high and this low as well. So that's that in itself, like that's interesting as well. Okay, get rid of that for a second. Another pool that's interesting is, I mean, so again, like we see where our point of control is basically around this 280 level. And that's your uptrend point of control, right? So as price comes down, if that point of control stays at literally right at this day level, I would be very interested in that potential trade. Or if I'm short, right? Like I'm very likely going to use that as one of the take profits. I'm very likely would be using that level. So again, it's kind of same thing, starting from your high. This is a little strange in this one because your wick low, like there's a big wick, but then price continues to grind here. So I wouldn't necessarily use this low just because again, you have like a ton of price action after it before you get this impulse. So like one thing that you could do, which just already happened, right? Like you already had this impulsive move. But like you could check it. All right, so your point of control is like way up here, which it almost hit that point of control. But for me, like I would be pulling this data as we go along. So like the thing that interests me already, again, this wick, it didn't, you know, there's a lot of price action that happened after it before this impulse. I would be pulling up until this impulse to see like if anything changed, right? So like obviously you can see that your point of control shifted down a lot and was actually pretty good. So it's like, yeah, so like it kind of gave you good insight. So like here's another thing that I'll say. Again, like so as you're making these pulls, so if you're trading this region, you're going to be just like you're adjusting. If you're trading a range, right, you're like constantly adjusting your range level. So like that month-long December range that we were in where like price was stuck within that window in Bitcoin, like you're like changing, you know, you're pulling your fixed range and getting like updated levels all the time. So this is no different, okay? Even though price is kind of working its way down and it starts to consolidate, every day you're going to be like working this over, right? And you can see how your point of control shifts. Reason why it shifts, well, there's a lot more trading that's starting to develop down here. So you want to see like if that shift happens, right? And then this obviously becomes like a really important reference. So again, so like I pulled up to what, this level. So like right away for me, if you reclaim the point of control, that's like first sign of strength, in my opinion. That's like I would say it's the first sign, but especially, you might have divergences coming into the lows and whatnot, which we haven't talked about that yet, by the way. That's coming down the road, probably not too far off. But like you're gonna look for signs of a bottom, right? And divergences is one of those ways that you can look for bottoming activity, right? There's a number of things that you can do. But again, coming into the lows here, you're gonna be adjusting your fixed range pull, keeping an eye on where your point of control is, which by the way is like turning into really good resistance, right? So as you keep pulling along, you can see that like your point of control gets tested into, but you can't get above that. So this without me knowing anything else. All right, now obviously you have a daily level that's right here. Okay, so like you have this daily level to contend with as well. But for me, the point of control, with the respect that I'm seeing that it's getting, like that's the level that I'm watching. You see, it's literally like not changing. And then so you pull it over all the way to here, and what happens on this candle? Well, get your impulsive move. You broke not only the point of control, right? But you also broke this daily level as well, which to me the daily level is almost secondary. But again, like you're spending a lot of time consolidating underneath like this pretty big resistance. You see like your volume building over here. And then once you break above it, there's not a lot to stop you. So this is another thing that I think is critical, right? So check this out. So you get your impulse and move through this big, again, it's kind of think of like a rubber band that's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And then once you're able to break through this support, look at your volume profile. There's really not a whole lot here that's in your way. Where do you stop? This little shelf. Check out, like, look at this wick. You see that? So like, this is the shelf that I'm talking about, right? It's kind of this green line here. A little bit tiny. It's like right there. Okay. So this green line is basically like the shelf where you have a higher volume node. So you break your point of control, and look at your volume profile, just sinks in, right? There's not a lot holding you until you kind of start to get to these higher levels, which guess what? Like that's your first initial sign of resistance is the underside of this shelf, which by the way, like this is taking it from your all-time high to the candle before your breakout. So you can see this stuff. Like this isn't like data that I'm pulling after that is working. It's literally what you would have seen on this day as you're moving up into this, okay? Now, another thing of interest that I see right away as well is look at your value area high. So this is your value area high, okay? So this is that green line. That's literally your top. It's pretty close. So again, I'm not just saying, oh, it's value area high, but like really good confluence there. And so far, like that's your local top, which by the way is a monthly. What day is this? 26. So this wouldn't be a confirmed monthly. This would have been your monthly open, by the way, which again is totally fine. But yeah, so you had your monthly open into your value area high of this fixed range pull that you did. Point of control is obviously immensely respected. Your next level up, value area high. There's your top. Did we have any fib confluence? I'm curious. That would have been here. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Are you kidding me? And if this isn't confluence, I don't know what is. Here you go. Shock. Anybody surprised yet? So you had your golden pocket from your all-time high to this swing low into your monthly open into your downtrend. I'm sorry, this would be a downtrend value area high. A lot of confluence here. And guess what? There you go. That's your top. Before price rolls back over. So lovely confluence here at this region. There was a lot of reasons here telling you, hey, this is like damn good time to take profit, right? So again, like you can see that like fixed ranges and volume analysis immensely powerful. If you again, like I'm just showing you alternate ways to pull to use this tool, okay? Because it's not just, oh, I can pull like my macro area. I mean, you can do that with VPVR if you want. You can literally like put VPVR on your chart and just zoom all the way out and you can see everything, right? VPVR is the one that adjusts with you, which I'll probably do a separate video on. It's not, it's going to give you like roughly the same data. The thing I don't like about it is it's not precise. Like this, I can be extremely precise. I can go down to a 1 second candle if I want and like be pulling fixed ranges on like within the span of minutes, right? You can be extremely precise with this, and I can pull again, like I can have exact starting points, the exact ending points, and you know, find those pivots, those areas of interest that you know, as far as like to analyze that data, right? I can be very specific. So that's why I like it. So, I mean, this is 2 examples. Let me think about this chart for a second. Make sure like there's no other pulls that I would probably use. You got your big impulsive one. You got, so again, you kind of, I hope you're kind of catching on where you have like your big impulsive move. That's your uptrend, and then you make a high, and then you could be pulling again, like now you're looking for your downtrend fixed range pull to identify potential, you know, resistances. Again, if price pushes back up, then you're, you know, able to identify potential resistance points, volume, like that volume wise, that support, you know, again, if you have other confluences and whatnot. Man, that was a good one. That was a good one. I'm actually glad that I redid this because sand was kind of outdated. Like the chart was outdated anyway, but I wonder if I had it on a different, is this my same template? Yeah, it's my same template. I don't know. Anyway, it worked out. But just to kind of wrap up, you know, like we had a major level hit here. You saw kind of like what, again, like the point of control building up, and then you kind of saw like how I walked through that, hopefully. If price rolls over level to level, you break this daily level, you're in all kinds of trouble, right? What's your next support below that? 280. That's where your next, so you have an untapped daily there, which we all know, like I love untapped dailies. I find them to be, like we just had one in Bitcoin. The $41,009 untapped daily, beautiful, right? Like I love untapped dailies. But what confluence you have there? Your uptrend point of control. So that immediately is like alert going off, interested in that level. Doesn't mean that's like gonna perfectly hold or anything, but I'm definitely gonna be paying attention for that level if it gets hit. And let me think of anything else. Any other kind of pull? That's probably it for this. I don't want to like overload you. I hope that this video was helpful and kind of like this is a bit of a follow-up, obviously, to the fixed range tool itself. There's going to be more content on range trading, of course, but like this is a very important concept in my opinion, like for everybody that is learning for me to grasp, because I use these extensively in my analysis. And you know, like when you're seeing uptrend point of control, like basically uptrend levels, downtrend levels, you know, which obviously in the last year or so, and I mean really before that, it's like, you know, 2020, a lot of it you've seen is like the uptrend stuff. So you've seen those pulls, but in bearish markets, or you know, like when we start to see downtrends, for example, like then you see the flip side of that, right? Like you see how I start using the highs, and then like I'm finding, you know, instead of finding resistances above, or you know, instead of finding support levels below into pullbacks, I'm looking for like resistance levels, just like we had this one, right? So like kind of when things flip around, then you're using it's the same analysis, it's the same theory, it's just using it to again find either supports or resistances. So hopefully that helps. Probably good for this video. And obviously for the VIPs who are watching this, if you need anything, I'm available anytime in Discord. If you have questions about this, like obviously we go over this all the time in live streams, but there will be way more examples of this if you have other questions. And I'm happy to do even another follow-up video if needed. So with that being said, trade safe out there. We'll see you around.